In 1932, Samuel Insull controlled more electrical power than any human being in history. His utility empire generated 1/8 of all electricity consumed in the United States, serving 8 million customers across 32 states, while employing 180,000 workers who depended on his decisions for their livelihoods. This wasn't some government official or inherited industrial dynasty. Insull had started 40 years earlier as Thomas Edison's 19-year-old secretary, earning $12 a week while learning the fundamentals of electrical engineering and business management that would eventually make him more powerful than most national governments. By the height of his influence, Insull's utility holding companies controlled assets worth over $3 billion in contemporary currency, roughly equivalent to $60 billion today, making him personally responsible for keeping the lights on in Chicago, Detroit, and hundreds of smaller cities throughout the American Midwest and South. His financial innovations in utility management would revolutionize how America powered its industrial growth, while his marketing genius convinced millions of households to embrace electrical appliances that transformed domestic life forever. But the very financial techniques that built his empire would ultimately destroy it, creating the largest business collapse in American history up to that point, and sending shockwaves through the economy that contributed to the Great Depression's severity. This is the story of how one brilliant immigrant rose from clerical work to control a significant portion of American infrastructure, then watched his life's work crumble as the complex financial structures that had fueled his unprecedented growth became the instruments of his spectacular downfall. The America that Samuel Insull entered in 1881 was a nation on the verge of an electrical revolution that would transform every aspect of modern life. Yet the technology and business models necessary for this transformation remained largely theoretical concepts awaiting practical implementation. Thomas Edison had recently perfected his incandescent light bulb and was developing the first commercial electrical power systems, but the infrastructure, financing mechanisms, and regulatory frameworks required for widespread electrical adoption simply did not exist. This technological frontier represented unprecedented opportunities for individuals with the vision and determination to bridge the gap between invention and practical application. Samuel Insull's background as the son of a London temperance preacher provided an unlikely preparation for becoming America's electrical empire builder. Yet his early exposure to public speaking, organizational management, and moral conviction would prove essential for the challenges he would face as an entrepreneur in an industry that barely existed. His father's work in social reform had taught him the importance of public relations and community engagement, skills that would later prove crucial for convincing suspicious communities to accept new electrical technologies and infrastructure. The educational system that shaped Insull's early development emphasized practical skills and moral character rather than theoretical knowledge, preparing him for the hands-on problem-solving and ethical decision-making that would characterize his business career. His brief experience in London's financial district before emigrating to America provided exposure to sophisticated business practices and international finance that would later influence his innovative approaches to utility management and corporate organization. The technological landscape of early 1880s America represented a unique historical moment when fundamental innovations in electricity, transportation, and communication were converging to create possibilities for industrial and social transformation that had never before existed. The practical applications of these technologies remained largely unexplored, creating opportunities for entrepreneurs who could envision and implement systems that would harness these innovations for commercial and social benefit. Edison's organization in New York during the early 1880s functioned as both a research laboratory and a business incubator, where young men with technical aptitude and entrepreneurial ambition could learn the emerging science of electrical engineering while developing the business skills necessary for commercializing new technologies. This unique environment attracted ambitious individuals from around the world who recognized that electricity represented the future of industrial development and urban life. The regulatory environment that governed early electrical development was virtually non-existent, creating both tremendous opportunities for innovation and serious risks for public safety and economic stability. Municipal governments lacked the technical expertise to evaluate electrical systems or establish appropriate safety standards, while state and federal authorities had not yet recognized the need for comprehensive oversight of what would become one of the nation's most important industrial sectors. International competition in electrical development during the 1880s included significant advances in Europe, particularly Germany and Britain, that created pressure on American inventors and entrepreneurs to develop commercial applications quickly or risk falling behind in what was clearly becoming a global technological race. This competitive environment encouraged rapid innovation and risk-taking that accelerated the pace of electrical development while sometimes compromising safety and long-term planning. The financial markets that would be required to fund massive electrical infrastructure projects were still developing during the 1880s, with investment bankers, securities markets, and corporate finance mechanisms that were primitive by later standards, yet sophisticated enough to enable ambitious entrepreneurs to raise the capital necessary for large-scale technological implementation. The relationship between financial innovation and technological development would prove crucial for the electrical industry's rapid growth. Urban growth and industrial expansion during the late 19th century created enormous demand for new forms of power and lighting that existing technologies could not satisfy effectively. Gas lighting and steam power provided some solutions, but were expensive, dangerous, and limited in their applications. The promise of electrical power offered solutions to these limitations, while creating entirely new possibilities for industrial productivity and urban convenience that would transform American society. Cultural attitudes toward technology and innovation during the 1880s reflected both excitement about the possibilities of scientific progress and anxiety about the social disruptions that rapid technological change might create. Public acceptance of new electrical technologies would require careful management of these concerns, while demonstrating clear benefits that would justify the costs and risks associated with adopting unfamiliar systems. The international migration patterns that brought ambitious young Europeans like Insull to America during this period reflected both the opportunities available in a rapidly developing nation and the limitations that class-based social systems imposed in their home countries. America offered greater possibilities for social mobility and entrepreneurial success than were available in Europe, attracting individuals who would contribute significantly to the nation's technological and economic development. As Samuel Insull stepped off the boat in New York City in February 1881, he entered a world where technological revolution and entrepreneurial opportunity were converging to create possibilities that would have been unimaginable just a decade earlier. His journey from Edison's secretary to master of an electrical empire would embody both the tremendous potential and the serious risks that characterized America's transformation into a modern industrial society. The Menlo Park environment that Insull entered represented something unprecedented in American industrial development, a research and development facility where scientific innovation was systematically directed toward commercial applications rather than purely theoretical advancement. Edison's invention factory employed dozens of skilled craftsmen, engineers, and experimenters who worked collaboratively to solve practical problems while developing new technologies that could be manufactured and sold profitably. Insull's initial responsibilities as Edison's secretary involved managing correspondence, scheduling appointments, and coordinating the complex logistics required for operating a facility that functioned simultaneously as laboratory, workshop, and business headquarters. However, Edison quickly recognized his young assistant's abilities and began delegating increasingly important responsibilities that exposed Insull to every aspect of the emerging electrical industry's development. The financial challenges that Edison faced in commercializing his inventions provided Insull with crucial early experience in fundraising, investor relations, and corporate finance that would prove invaluable throughout his career. Edison's genius for invention was not matched by comparable skill in business management, creating opportunities for his capable assistant to learn financial and organizational techniques while contributing to solutions for problems that threatened to undermine promising technological innovations. The patent system that governed electrical inventions during the early 1880s required sophisticated legal and business strategies that went far beyond simple technical documentation. Insull learned to navigate complex patent disputes, licensing negotiations, and intellectual property protection that were essential for maintaining Edison's competitive advantages while generating revenue from his innovations. These experiences provided practical education in the relationship between technological development and legal frameworks that would influence Insull's later business strategies. International business relationships that Edison maintained with European investors and licensees gave Insull exposure to global markets and financial systems that most Americans of his generation never experienced. Correspondence with British, German, and French business partners provided insights into different approaches to electrical development while creating networks of international contacts that would prove valuable throughout Insull's career. The manufacturing challenges involved in producing Edison's electrical equipment required innovative approaches to production management, quality control, and supply chain coordination that were pioneering applications of what would later be called industrial engineering. Insull participated in developing systems that could efficiently manufacture complex electrical devices while maintaining the quality standards necessary for safe and reliable operation. Edison's personality and working methods exposed Insull to both the benefits and limitations of genius-level innovation when it operated without adequate business discipline and organizational structure. Edison's tendency toward impulsive decision-making and disregard for financial constraints created frequent crises that required diplomatic and practical problem-solving skills that Insull developed through necessity rather than formal training. The competitive environment that characterized early electrical development included rivalry with other inventors, patent disputes with competing companies, and technological races to develop commercial applications before competitors could establish market dominance. Insull learned to analyze competitive threats, develop strategic responses, and coordinate collaborative efforts that would enable Edison's organization to maintain leadership in rapidly evolving markets. Technical education that Insull acquired through his work with Edison included practical understanding of electrical engineering principles, manufacturing processes, and system design that provided the foundation for his later innovations in utility management and electrical distribution. While he never became a trained engineer, his practical experience with electrical technology enabled him to understand technical problems and evaluate engineering solutions with competence that few business executives possessed. The marketing and public relations challenges involved in introducing electrical technology to skeptical consumers required educational campaigns, demonstration projects, and public safety assurances that convinced communities to accept unfamiliar and potentially dangerous systems. Insull participated in developing approaches to public education and consumer marketing that would later influence his revolutionary methods for promoting electrical adoption throughout America. Financial record keeping and business analysis that Insull managed for Edison's various enterprises provided practical training in accounting, cost analysis, and performance measurement that was essential for understanding the economic factors that determined technological success or failure. These analytical skills would prove crucial for his later innovations in utility management and corporate finance. Personnel management responsibilities that Insull gradually acquired included supervising clerical staff, coordinating technical personnel, and managing relationships with external contractors and suppliers. These experiences provided practical education in organizational leadership and human resource management that prepared him for the challenges of building and managing large industrial enterprises. The regulatory and political relationships that Edison's business required included interactions with municipal governments, state officials, and federal authorities who were developing policies for governing new electrical technologies. Insull learned to navigate political processes, build relationships with government officials, and influence policy development in ways that would support, rather than hinder, commercial electrical development. By 1887, Insull had evolved from a competent secretary into Edison's most trusted business lieutenant, managing crucial aspects of the inventor's commercial empire, while developing the skills and relationships that would enable him to launch his own career as an independent entrepreneur. His decision to leave Edison's organization and move to Chicago would test whether the abilities he had developed during 6 years at the center of America's electrical revolution were sufficient for building his own business empire in the challenging environment of America's fastest-growing industrial city. Chicago in 1892 represented both enormous opportunity and formidable challenges for an ambitious utility executive. The city was experiencing explosive population growth as immigrants and rural Americans flocked to industrial opportunities, creating massive demand for electrical power and lighting that existing systems could not satisfy. However, the competitive environment included multiple competing electrical companies, gas lighting interests, and municipal political complications that made unified electrical development extremely difficult to achieve. The Chicago Edison Company that Insull inherited was a marginally profitable operation serving fewer than 5,000 customers in downtown Chicago, while facing intense competition from rival electrical companies and established gas utilities. The company's financial condition was precarious, its equipment was outdated, and its service area was limited to a small portion of the city's total market potential. Most industry experts viewed the company as a poor investment with limited prospects for significant growth. Insull's strategic vision for transforming Chicago Edison involved revolutionary concepts that challenged conventional wisdom about utility management and electrical distribution. Rather than focusing on serving only wealthy customers who could afford expensive electrical service, he proposed to build massive generating capacity that could serve all economic classes while reducing unit costs through economies of scale that would make electrical power competitive with alternative energy sources. The load factor concept that became central to Insull's utility strategy represented sophisticated understanding of the economic principles underlying electrical generation and distribution. By analyzing customer usage patterns and developing innovative rate structures that encouraged increased consumption, he could maximize the utilization of expensive generating equipment while reducing the average cost of electrical service for all customers. Financing the massive infrastructure investments required for Insull's expansion strategy necessitated innovative approaches to corporate finance and investor relations that went far beyond conventional utility funding methods. He pioneered the use of holding companies, subsidiary corporations, and complex securities structures that would enable rapid expansion while maintaining financial flexibility and management control over far-flung operations. The technological innovations that Insull implemented in Chicago included some of the largest and most efficient electrical generating plants in the world, utilizing advanced steam turbine technology and electrical distribution systems that could serve customers across vast geographic areas with unprecedented reliability and efficiency. These technical achievements demonstrated that electrical utilities could operate profitably on a scale that few observers had previously considered possible. Labor relations strategies that Insull developed reflected his understanding that skilled electrical workers were essential for maintaining reliable service, while recognizing that employee loyalty and competence could provide competitive advantages that were difficult for rivals to replicate. He offered higher wages, better working conditions, and profit-sharing arrangements that attracted talented personnel while reducing labor disputes and operational disruptions. Marketing innovations that promoted electrical adoption included consumer education programs, appliance financing plans, and demonstration projects that convinced skeptical customers to adopt electrical lighting and power in their homes and businesses. Insull's marketing genius lay in recognizing that electrical utilities needed to create demand for their services rather than simply responding to existing market needs. Political relationships that Insull cultivated with Chicago municipal officials, state regulators, and federal authorities provided crucial support for his expansion plans while protecting his company from competitive threats and regulatory obstacles. His understanding of political processes and skill in building coalitions enabled him to navigate complex regulatory environments that often determined the success or failure of utility development projects. The consolidation strategy that Insull pursued involved acquiring competing electrical companies, gas utilities, and transportation systems that could be integrated into unified service networks, offering multiple services to the same customer base. This diversification strategy provided revenue stability while creating opportunities for cost reductions through shared infrastructure and administrative systems. International comparisons that influenced Insull's approach to utility development included careful study of European electrical systems, particularly those in Germany and Britain, where government-regulated monopolies provided electrical service more efficiently than competitive systems that characterized early American electrical development. These international models suggested that regulated monopolies might provide superior service at lower costs than competitive markets. The rate structure innovations that Insull pioneered included time-of-use pricing, declining block rates, and service classifications that encouraged efficient utilization of electrical generating capacity while providing affordable service to residential customers. These pricing strategies would later be adopted throughout the American electrical industry, while influencing utility regulation and rate-setting processes for decades. Customer service systems that Insull developed included standardized billing procedures, systematic maintenance programs, and complaint resolution processes that provided reliable service quality while building customer loyalty and satisfaction. These operational innovations demonstrated that electrical utilities could provide service reliability comparable to established industries like gas distribution and water supply. Financial performance that resulted from Insull's transformation of Chicago Edison exceeded even optimistic projections, with the company growing from 5,000 customers in 1892 to over 100,000 customers by 1900, while expanding its service territory to encompass most of Chicago and surrounding communities. This growth rate established Chicago Edison as one of America's most successful utility companies, while providing the financial foundation for even more ambitious expansion plans. By 1900, Insull had demonstrated that electrical utilities could operate profitably on a scale that transformed them from local service providers into major industrial enterprises, with the potential to influence regional economic development and social change. His success in Chicago provided the model and the resources for expanding his utility empire throughout the Midwest and eventually across much of the American electrical industry. The appliance marketing campaigns that Insull pioneered included consumer financing programs, educational demonstrations, and advertising strategies that convinced millions of American households to adopt electrical appliances that had previously been considered luxury items for the wealthy. His companies offered installment purchase plans for electrical appliances, home wiring services, and maintenance programs that eliminated the barriers that had prevented middle-class families from embracing electrical technology. Industrial development strategies that Insull implemented involved recruiting manufacturing companies to locate facilities within his service territories while offering attractive electrical rates and specialized services that would encourage industrial expansion and job creation. These economic development efforts created synergistic relationships between electrical infrastructure and manufacturing growth that benefited entire communities while providing stable revenue bases for continued utility expansion. The rural electrification programs that Insull's companies undertook represented pioneering efforts to extend electrical service beyond urban areas to farm communities and small towns that had been considered economically unviable markets for electrical utilities. These programs required innovative technical solutions and financing arrangements that could overcome the high costs of serving dispersed rural populations while demonstrating the economic benefits of electrical power for agricultural and small-town commercial activities. Technical innovations that Insull's engineering teams developed included advanced electrical distribution systems, improved generating equipment, and standardized construction techniques that reduced costs while improving service reliability across vast geographic areas. His companies became laboratories for electrical technology development, with innovations that were later adopted throughout the American electrical industry. The rate structure experiments that Insull conducted provided valuable data about consumer behavior and demand elasticity that influenced utility pricing strategies throughout America. His companies tested various pricing mechanisms, service classifications, and billing methods that optimized revenue generation while maximizing customer satisfaction and electrical usage. These experiments established scientific approaches to utility rate setting that replaced the arbitrary pricing methods that had characterized early electrical service. Public relations strategies that promoted electrical adoption included educational campaigns, community demonstrations, and publicity efforts that convinced skeptical consumers that electrical technology was safe, reliable, and economically beneficial. Insull understood that public acceptance of electrical infrastructure required ongoing education and communication that addressed safety concerns while demonstrating practical benefits. The holding company structure that Insull developed to manage his expanding utility empire represented financial innovation that enabled rapid geographic expansion while maintaining operational control over diverse properties located across multiple states. These corporate structures allowed efficient capital allocation, shared technical resources, and coordinated management, while providing flexibility for adapting to different regional conditions and regulatory requirements. Regulatory relationships that Insull cultivated with state utility commissions involved pioneering approaches to utility regulation that balanced consumer protection with adequate returns on investment needed to finance continued infrastructure development. He worked with regulators to develop rate-setting methodologies, service quality standards, and operational requirements that provided framework for effective utility oversight while preserving incentives for continued investment and innovation. Employee training programs that Insull's companies implemented created skilled workforces capable of installing, maintaining, and operating complex electrical systems while providing career advancement opportunities that attracted talented personnel from across the industry. These training programs established professional standards for electrical workers while creating organizational capabilities that supported reliable service delivery across multiple states. The economic impact of Insull's electrical development extended far beyond his company's direct operations to include the industrial development, urban growth, and community improvement that resulted from widespread electrical adoption. Manufacturing companies relocated to areas served by his utilities, new commercial districts developed around electrical infrastructure, and residential neighborhoods expanded as electrical service made modern urban living more convenient and attractive. International recognition of Insull's achievements included invitations to advise foreign governments about electrical development, speaking engagements at international conferences, and consultations with utility companies throughout Europe and other continents. His innovations in utility management and electrical marketing became global models for electrical industry development, while establishing American leadership in electrical technology commercialization. The social transformation that resulted from widespread electrical adoption included changes in work patterns, domestic life, entertainment options, and community organization that fundamentally altered American society during the early 20th century. Electrical lighting extended working hours and social activities, electrical appliances reduced domestic labor requirements, and electrical transportation systems connected communities in ways that had never before been possible. Financial performance of Insull's utility empire during the 1910s and early 1920s demonstrated the economic viability of large-scale electrical development while providing returns to investors that justified continued expansion and technical innovation. His companies consistently generated profits that supported dividend payments, infrastructure investments, and geographic expansion, while maintaining financial reserves for unexpected challenges. Research and development activities that Insull's companies supported included collaboration with universities, equipment manufacturers, and technical organizations that advanced electrical engineering knowledge while developing practical applications for emerging technologies. These research efforts contributed to industry-wide technical progress while providing competitive advantages for his companies through early adoption of improved methods and equipment. By 1920, Insull had established electrical power as an essential component of American industrial and domestic life, while demonstrating that utility companies could operate profitably on scales that influenced entire regional economies. His success in creating demand for electrical service while building the infrastructure to meet that demand represented one of the most successful examples of coordinated technological and business development in American history. The holding company system that formed the foundation of Insull's financial empire operated through multiple layers of corporate ownership and control that allowed him to command vast utility properties with relatively modest personal investment. Middle West Utilities Company, his primary holding company, controlled operating utilities across 16 states, while itself being controlled by Insull Utility Investments, which was in turn influenced by other investment vehicles that Insull controlled through complex voting arrangements and financial relationships. Investment trust companies that Insull created during the mid-1920s represented innovative applications of the investment company concept to utility securities, offering public investors professionally managed portfolios of utility stocks while providing Insull's companies with additional sources of capital for expansion projects. These investment trusts attracted millions of dollars from individual investors who trusted Insull's reputation while lacking the expertise to evaluate the complex relationships between the various companies in his empire. The securities issuance strategies that funded Insull's expansion involved sophisticated combinations of bonds, preferred stocks, common shares, and hybrid securities that appealed to different types of investors while minimizing the cost of capital for his operating companies. His financial advisors developed innovative security structures that provided attractive returns to investors while preserving management control and financial flexibility for continued expansion. Leverage ratios that characterized Insull's financial structure reached levels that would be considered dangerous by contemporary standards, with some holding companies carrying debt-to-equity ratios exceeding 300%, while depending on dividend payments from subsidiary companies to service their obligations. This leverage magnified returns during periods of growth, while creating enormous vulnerability to any disruption in operating company performance or financial market conditions. The interconnected relationships between Insull's various companies created complex webs of financial dependency that made the entire empire vulnerable to problems affecting any significant component. Operating utilities pledged their assets to secure holding company borrowings. Investment trusts held substantial positions in Insull companies, and management fees and service contracts created additional financial flows between related entities that complicated independent analysis of individual company performance. Market timing strategies that Insull employed during the bull market of the 1920s included careful coordination of securities offerings with favorable market conditions, while using publicity campaigns and investor education programs to maintain strong demand for his company's securities. His reputation for utility management expertise and past success created investor confidence that enabled him to raise capital at favorable terms, even as his financial structure became increasingly complex and leveraged. The regulatory arbitrage that Insull's multi-state utility empire enabled involved taking advantage of differences in state utility regulations, tax policies, and securities laws to optimize financial performance while maintaining compliance with applicable legal requirements. This regulatory arbitrage provided competitive advantages, while creating operational complexities that required sophisticated legal and administrative coordination across multiple jurisdictions. International financing that supported Insull's expansion included borrowing from European banks, securities offerings in foreign markets, and partnerships with international utilities that provided additional sources of capital while creating exposure to foreign exchange fluctuations and international economic conditions. These international financial relationships diversified his funding sources while creating additional risks and complexities. The dividend policies that Insull maintained across his various companies were designed to support the financial structure of his holding company pyramid while providing attractive returns to investors in operating utilities. However, these dividend requirements created pressure to maintain earnings growth that sometimes conflicted with operational needs for capital investment or financial reserves for unexpected challenges. Corporate governance arrangements within Insull's empire concentrated enormous authority in his personal control, while providing limited oversight or independent review of strategic decisions that affected thousands of investors and millions of utility customers. His reputation for competence and integrity convinced investors and directors to delegate broad decision-making authority without implementing adequate checks and balances that might have prevented later problems. Accounting and financial reporting practices within Insull's companies employed innovative methods that were legal under prevailing standards, but sometimes obscured the true financial relationships and risk exposures that characterized his complex corporate structure. These accounting practices made it difficult for outside observers to assess the empire's true financial condition, while enabling continued access to capital markets that might have been less receptive to more transparent reporting. The economic assumptions that underpinned Insull's financial planning included continued strong growth in electrical demand, stable utility regulation, and favorable financial market conditions that would enable refinancing of maturing obligations while supporting continued expansion. These assumptions proved reasonable during the prosperous 1920s, but would become dangerous vulnerabilities when economic conditions deteriorated during the early 1930s. Risk management practices within Insull's organization focused primarily on operational and technical risks, while paying insufficient attention to the financial risks created by complex corporate structures and high leverage ratios. The concentration of decision-making authority in Insull's personal judgment eliminated many potential sources of independent risk assessment that might have identified dangerous trends before they became unmanageable. By 1929, Insull had created the largest privately owned utility empire in American history, while pioneering financial innovations that would influence corporate finance for decades. However, the same financial engineering that enabled his spectacular growth also created vulnerabilities that would prove catastrophic when economic conditions changed and investor confidence in his empire began to deteriorate. The operational scope of Insull's empire encompassed every aspect of electrical generation, transmission, and distribution, while extending into related industries including gas utilities, street railways, and ice manufacturing that created synergistic relationships with core electrical operations. His companies operated over 200 power plants, maintained thousands of miles of transmission lines, and served more than 8 million customers through integrated systems that demonstrated the efficiency advantages of large-scale utility coordination. Political influence that Insull wielded during this period extended far beyond typical business lobbying to encompass significant roles in utility regulation, energy policy, and infrastructure development at state and federal levels. His expertise in utility management made him a frequent consultant to government officials, while his campaign contributions and political relationships enabled him to influence legislation, regulatory decisions that affected the entire electrical industry. The technological leadership that Insull's companies maintained included some of the world's most advanced power plants, electrical distribution systems, and customer service technologies that established benchmarks for efficiency and reliability throughout the utility industry. His engineers pioneered large-scale steam turbine applications, high-voltage transmission networks, and automated control systems that reduced costs while improving service quality across vast geographic areas. International recognition of Insull's achievements included consulting relationships with foreign governments, speaking engagements at international conferences, and advisory roles with utility companies throughout Europe and other continents. His innovations in utility finance, customer service, and system integration became global models for electrical industry development, while establishing American leadership in utility management and electrical technology commercialization. The economic impact of Insull's operations on regional development was enormous, with his utility investments supporting industrial growth, urban expansion, and rural electrification that transformed entire regions of the American Midwest and South. Manufacturing companies relocated to areas served by his utilities, new commercial districts developed around electrical infrastructure, and agricultural communities gained access to electrical power that revolutionized farming methods and rural living standards. Financial performance during the peak years demonstrated the economic viability of Insull's utility model while generating returns that satisfied investors, funded continued expansion, and supported dividend payments to hundreds of thousands of shareholders who